Welcome to Beyond the Corporate Ladder, thoughtful conversations on leadership, growth, and long-term perspective with your host, Stephen Lee Thomas. Each episode features thoughtful conversations with leaders and operators about growth, decision-making, and what it really looks like to build a meaningful life as your career evolves. Welcome back, everyone, to the show. Today, my guest is Jack Sparling, and he is the co-founder of Aspire Success. I've really enjoyed the conversations we've had prior to hitting the record button. I really love his background. He has some amazing perspectives he's going to bring on growth and leadership. Jack, thank you so much for joining me today.
Stephen, thank you for having me. I appreciate it. And as well, have enjoyed our conversations before recording today and even prior while we were setting this all up. So I am grateful that you have me here. 100%.
Absolutely. So give us a little bit of context on what your role looks like today and what you're primarily responsible for. And then after we learn about that, we're going to go back in time a little bit and learn a little bit about what got you here.
Yeah. So at the core, I am a teacher, a coach, someone who's always looking forward to discovering how to help someone, a person, a team, an organization move forward, right? And that's my background. I spent 30 plus years in professional service company leading, high impact, high performing teams, solving complex problems for large global and domestic organizations, primarily in the financial services industry, and also build a successful career through that. Along the way, while in Japan on a tour for the company I was with for 4 years, my wife and I founded Aspire Success, driven by just our heart to share, how to help people grow and succeed, right? So then it comes into this period of transition, most recently, and gave me the time to reflect back on all that I've done, all that I experienced, and ask the deeper question, like, how best can I use all those experiences to give the best of what I have to continue to serve meaningfully in a meaningful way to others. So that took me back to what we created back in Japan at Aspire, where today I am, you know, executive coach, trainer on leadership, and just helping teams, individuals, and organizations just like find a way to continue to move forward with their purpose. So at the end of the day, I still enjoy solving problems, but the problems are a little bit different, and it's just helping other people live more purposeful life. And then the way, I look at it is purpose is giving the best of what I have to serve others. And that's just what I'm about. So hopefully that answered your question, but that's my history, man.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. So, something that I could relate to when we were talking last week, before we met today, you mentioned that you had worked for, I'm not going to name the name of the company, but a
They
consulting
can find it
company.
out on LinkedIn.
Yeah, a
It's out there, but
consulting
that's
company
fair.
that comes in and helps companies solve problems or does some auditing, and you mentioned that, kind of as a superpower there.
Yeah.
And I worked for a large company and constantly, actually, the company that you were with came in and was always coming in and solving problems or provided a different perspective. And so I really like I learned a lot from that. At first, I was kind of like, oh, there's these imposters coming in, like, oh, this is my process. But I learned a lot from seeing, those different mindsets come in and and that perspective and that shift. Now, at some point, okay, there was a moment in time when you're like, I could keep doing what I'm doing, or I could go do something different. Going and doing something different is the
Right.
harder path, right? It is
That is
hands
that is
down,
that's true.
it is a harder path. What is it that was a fundamental catalyst for you that drove you in this direction that you're in today?
Yeah, Steve, I mean, great fair question. And I did a lot of reflection, and my transition came a year prior to what I was expecting, right? So I was expecting to do kind of what I'm doing now, but a year from now. So I get a year head start. So I am very grateful for that. Some people, could possibly be in a different position, wouldn't be as grateful to do something a year sooner than they wanted, but I'm in a better position to be able to do that. And when I look back, I mean, all throughout my career, I was either being coached or mentored. And what I've learned is when when we did something together with great impact, that's when I felt most fulfilled. When like if I did something I was only for myself, it's like that fulfillment was short-lived. But when you accomplish something with a team or for an organization that is struggling, like when I really step back and looked at all the great, you know, fulfilling achievements, the best achievements were ones that I did with other people, right? So that, when I was in high school, I played football. My best achievement was when we won as a team. When I went out and, did, different 5Ks or whatever, that was fun. That was achievement. I got, there's a different story about a triathlon that I got into that I messed up because I signed up. But when I got my family together and we all did those Spartan runs, I don't know if you ever seen them.
Yep.
That was a great achievement because I was able to pull together my family, about seven guys, and just do it. So when I look back, right, and you think it's like what things aren't going to be easier, but they're more worthwhile when you're doing stuff to serve other people, right? So it's not, is it going to be easier? No, no. I mean, it's still work, but in one sense, it's when it's meaningful, it's okay, right? When you know you're doing something that's meaning tied to meaning, then you're like, all right, I got that conviction, I got that burden, I'm going to do it, I'm going to succeed with the team.
So on my wall here, I have, are you familiar with Maslow's hierarchy of needs?
Yes, yes,
So it's on my wall as a constant reminder to me of, where I'm at, and that fluctuates over time. But what I
right.
hear you saying is, I would say my guess is early on in your career, you viewed success very different than you view it today. So you had evolved into this state where you get a lot of fulfillment from actually helping other people be successful. So what did success look like for you early on, and how has that fundamentally changed?
Yeah, success with me getting acquiring skills and getting to the next level, acquiring skills and getting to the next level. And you know, and yes, you can't at times get to the next level without the impact of others helping you and you helping them. But that wasn't my, I would say my primary focus is, how am I helping others? I was always client focused, client centered, always serving my clients. But I wouldn't say that was front of mind saying, okay, I'm doing this because this is fulfilling, because I didn't attach those two words together, right? Fulfillment and client
Hmm.
service.
Hmm.
I just said, I am client service, and that all adds just a client is always right. And if you don't believe so, just ask the client, those types of things, right? So I was always client centered. Um, and then as I, continued to progress and then got hold of 21 Laws of Leadership by John Maxwell, that was one of the turning points in my life. Is like, okay, what is a leader? A leader is not someone in the back cracking the whip. It's someone from the front leading the way, showing the way, you know, that type of thing. So obviously that's a growth journey through life, right? It's not like, oh, I read a book and now I'm, all almighty, right? In a sense, but it's a journey, right? And then as I, like I said earlier, as I reflect back, um, achievement is not bad, but if achievement with the right purpose behind it or right meaning behind it, I think that's, very, means a lot to me. I at times when I'm through my career, I've seen people with a whole bunch of letters after their name. And I'm not against that's great.
Uh-huh.
That's learning, that's growth or whatever. But when you just do it for the sake of yourself, reason why I would see something that these people get the next letter is because they're like, okay, what's like, okay, then oh, if I get this letter, then I'll be and they're not because they're not sharing it with others, right? So if you think about I think Maxwell uses this term, be a river, right? Not a reservoir. Think of a reservoir, it's just water. It's like all the stagnant stuff and the flies and the gnats flying around. But a
Hmm.
river, man, that thing is flowing, right? There's fresh water going through it. The fish are jumping around having fun, right? So you if you're doing something to serve others and just keep flowing, like then you're fresh, right? So that's how I would see it. Stephen. Does that
Yeah.
make sense? Yeah.
Yeah,
You know?
absolutely. I love that. I mean, that is really like the whole genesis of this podcast and these conversations is that there is this chapter that we find in life where we've gone after what we believe is success, and then we kind of get to a point where we look around and we're like, hold on a second, like it's not really all I thought it was going to be. And like you said, you're kind of constantly going after one achievement after the next. And there's this like you work, 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 and then you get that accomplishment, and then it's very kind of fleeting is the best way I can describe it in my own personal experience.
Yeah.
And I shared this a little bit with you when we spoke last week. The most fulfillment I ever got in my personal career was not the promotion. It was literally seeing other people be successful,
Right.
giving other people whatever skill set I had that I could teach them. Or there's another topic I want you to talk about here, and that is empowering other
Mhm.
people
Right.
to kind of do their own thing. So yesterday, my wife, she's at the end of the day and she just tells me, she's like, hey, I'm really irritated right now. It has nothing to do with you. So if I say something snappy, don't take it personal, okay? And I'm like, whoa, like what happened to
You
you?
get the heads up. That's good.
At least she like gave me the heads up, right? And then she's like, I am just so tired of everybody coming to me with their problems.
Mhm.
And I remember a moment like that. And so I gently said, well, you got to teach them to come to you with solutions. Anyways, um, that she said that I was reading some of the notes going into the show. You had an aha moment similar to that when it comes to leadership. Can you share that experience in allowing other people to go do their thing?
Yeah, I mean, as you go through, right, you need to a key leadership principle is are you creating followers or are you creating leaders, right? Leaders create leaders. If you're otherwise, if you're creating followers, then you're going to get those things like you're solving everyone's problems and you get burned out because you're not giving them that opportunity to learn, to fail. Like you don't want them to like flounder and fail like uncontrollably. You want to be there, but you want to give them that opportunity. And I learned that along the way. It's like, okay, am I creating the environment, right? Leaders need to create that environment to help people be okay to fail, right? And then you're there to correct them and go. Otherwise, they're going to take it as far as they can, and it's like, oh, I'm done here because Jack's going to pick it up and run with it, right? Well,
Hmm.
then we create a behavior that does not help them because they're not growing, and it's not going to help us because we're not growing. We're too busy doing stuff that other people should be doing. So that was a big revelation throughout my career is you got leaders create leaders and build leaders. And then if you're not building them, you're going to have followers. And if you don't have followers, I think Maxwell says, then you just walk, you're just taking a walk, right? A leader with no followers, you're just taking a walk, right?
Right,
So
right.
I think it's so important, right, to empower others, to train them and give them that opportunity and be there with them to help them grow.
Yeah, I absolutely love that. I want to transition a little bit now into like what exactly it is you're doing. So let's start with in this coaching space, and I gotta just say this, for someone to go into coaching, that's someone who is very giving. And so for those of you listening, lean in right now and listen and pay attention. So Jack, who are the people that you're mostly focused on helping right now through your coaching?
Yeah, right now, most of my clients that I'm working through right now are thinking, what is next? Like they're either they're executives, they're thinking what is next, and some are in a period of thinking about transition, right, sooner rather than later. Others are trying to plan ahead in 5 years, right? So that's good. They're thinking around on that side. And then there's a couple that are overwhelmed. Overwhelmed might be a little bit strong. They have multiple choices to think through of what is next, and they don't have a mechanism to determine what is the best choice for them. Should I go with career option A, B, or C? You know, so they're what I'm working through right now. Now, the key is, and this is where, and we'll talk about a tool that I use is a purpose factor assessment, which breaks down into certain components that think about what is your natural advantage, what are your required skills, what's your pull, passion, what's your origin story. And we won't get into the theory behind all those components, but when you think about how you're made up of nature and nurture, like you're going to be drawn to a certain way of what fulfills you.
Hmm.
And so what I'm working with them is saying, okay, based on where you're at, you, it sounds like you really want to understand how are you going to use all the skills that you've acquired. So let's focus on that. And when are you most fulfilled using those skills, and when are you most frustrated when you're using those or not using those skills, and how do we make sure that you're doing that and planning that ahead? So that is, how I'm working through with them with coaching, and what is the decision-making framework that they're doing, right? So if we think about decisions that we need to make, are we making them based on emotion, or are we making them based on our our purpose? What's driving our decisions? And there's a whole psychology behind sometimes what we do and how we make decisions and not always make the right decisions, or so one of the guys I'm coaching is like, oh, and we're going through. He goes, now remember, I'm a people pleaser. I'm like, not anymore. You're a purpose pleaser. He goes, ah, right. So because he's always thinking about taking on more. Hard to say no. And
Hmm.
no, I'll do it. I do it because he thinks that he's gonna feel valued because he's saying yes to everything. But it's like, okay, but now you have so much to do when something comes up, because everything yes you say, you're gonna have to eventually say no to something else, and it might be something that's really worthwhile. So what is the framework for deciding? So is working through those components of coaching at the exec level, and then I have a couple of new college graduates that I'm just trying to help them be the guide along the side and develop a framework of discipline
Uh-huh.
of like, hey, being consistent, showing up. How am I continuing to grow and trying to work through a growth model with them and say, okay, who are you around? What books are you reading? What podcasts? Like your podcast, even like, what are you listening to that is continuing the growth? Because if you're not growing, you're going to fall behind, right? So they're I would say the two types of folks I'm working with right now, and also trying to eventually work with some organizations. I'm working through the Chamber of Commerce to see how we could get into understanding how heard there's some challenges around proper communication. So how do
Hmm.
we help leaders communicate better with their teams? So
That sounds
that's
like
where I'm
organizational
focusing my
leadership, right?
yes, organizational leadership, right? Because as you know, leadership, it starts from the top. Set the
Hmm.
tone from
Hmm.
the top. How do we drive that? And if the leader is not understanding what their team, what drives them, what fulfills them, then it really comes down to then a productivity issue. There's a Gallup study in 2025 that says those folks that they studied, those that understood purpose behind what they do, are 5.6 times more engaged in their work.
Wow.
5.6 times more engaged in their work. 70% of the gap between those engaged and non-engaged, reflection of the manager or leader over that team. And globally, it costs organizations, the study said, $10 trillion in lost productivity, and 1.9 or 1.7 trillion of that is in the US. So there is a leadership gap somewhere along the line. And it's also the leader, right? The leader
Hmm.
from, it's not just like, hey, this is a line person or a staff member, because the manager and the supervisor and the supervisor, which is like somewhere along the line, they're not being led properly either, right? So um, it's a trickle down effect. And it just needs to be um, bridge that gap. It's $10 trillion in lost productivity. That's a big number.
That's a huge number. That's a huge
Yeah.
number. Okay, so what was the name? It was a purpose factor
Purpose factor assessment.
assessment. Okay, purpose
Yeah,
factor
and
assessment.
yeah, and it's it's been uh, 10 years of and hundreds of thousands of studies that they poured into this. It complements things like if you heard Stephen of strength finders and
Uh-huh.
Myers-Briggs and
Uh-huh.
discs, right? So it complements that. It's not a competitor. It doesn't can complement each one of those studies. And what it really does is it gets down to understand. And some people may know, I know what my purpose is, but I just can't articulate it. It puts words around that, right? So, you know, when I did my assessment, there was a lot of aha moments in that, but then it was like, yep, that is me, right? When I say, okay, when I started, I'm a teacher, I'm a coach, and when I did my assessment, my natural advantage, right, came out. I'm a teacher. I'm like, ah, okay. Like I would never thought about that, but
Uh-huh.
like in
Uh-huh.
that realm, it's like, okay. So not that I don't can't operate it as a recruiter or a builder or other of the archetypes within that,
Hmm.
but my primary, my dominant, my where I get my most fulfillment through the assessment was like teaching. I'm like, yeah, I'm there 100% because when I was with my teams up until my last days, the I was always mentoring and coaching someone and go back to what you were saying is I'm always most fulfilled when I could coach myself or mentor myself out of my position and I need to go somewhere else because then I did my job. I replaced myself.
Hmm.
If
Hmm.
I am most insecure if I'm like I'm going to hold people back. Like no, and so I appreciate what you were saying is like, yes, I get 100% when you say I was most fulfilled, not because of what I come, but when I saw the team come and they got promoted or they moved on to the next level. It's like, yes, that is the, to me, from a leader, that should be your best accomplishment is that you pull someone up. And not only that, that maybe even that they surpassed you.
Yeah.
And only because they grew exponentially, not because you stopped growing, right? So
Right. Right.
that's
Right.
like you don't want to. The law of the lid says like you can't take someone beyond where you are. So, but that's okay if they're getting coached or mentored by someone else, then that their lid could be blown off the top. But as long as you're continuing to grow and you're pulling people through, that's awesome.
So purpose factor assessment, and you said you're
Yes.
working closely with executives or even
Yeah.
college graduates. So you have a lot of, I would say, probably some high performance strategies that go in there. But this common theme of finding purpose in what you're doing is
Yes.
a primary thing you're helping people solve. So this could
Yes.
be executives within an organization. This could be business owners. This
Yes.
could be, you gave an example of the Chamber of Commerce,
Yeah.
where, and help me fill in the blank here, they're applying it to their kind of their own world, or it's really taking that and learning better leadership skills to um, positively impact the people around them.
So yeah, so I would say all the above, right? So one is, that to be a great leader, you got to be comfortable in your own skin. You got to know who you are. So this helps you understand a little bit better of who you are and how you like to operate. Because in there too, as we see different things, we also understand it points out some of our blind spots, and some
Hmm.
of those blind spots are how we lead, right? And then how we like to be led. So that is also in the assessment the best way that we like to be led, the best way we like to lead, our blind spots, because if we're not aware of ourself and who we are and how we like to operate and our blind spots, we could be detrimental to others, right? And then the other thing too is when you do this assessment as a team, right?
Mm.
Then you get to understand how your team likes to operate. So it could be a great leadership tool too, right? So it works both ways. One is as a leader, you can say, okay, me and Steven and we'll say Mary, we're all on the same team. And Steven, you're the supervisor. You get to know, okay, wait a minute, Jack loves to teach or like okay, so when we're putting this new product out, he's going to be the one possibly that we're going to put up front to share it with our customer base because that's his thing. And that does, so you could think about those things that it's like, okay, because this is really going to light this guy up.
Hmm. Hmm.
He's going to be fulfilled, he's going to be more engaged, he's going to, right? So, or it's like, what, Jack is really not in tune, not that he's not in tune to his natural advantage, but he's like really loves his acquired skills. And he's like, boom, like, okay, so let's put those skills to the test, right? So, my skills are like, I love solving complex problems. Okay, well, okay, let's get them in there, right? again, not like we can't do other things, right? But like, how do you best put the people in position, right?
Yeah,
So I think it's multifaceted, right? It's individual and it's team and it's
it sounds
leadership.
very, very multifaceted. It sounds like there's a lot of people that could really take advantage of something like that.
Yes.
Um, in so many, like right now, I can't like I could say, oh, I know this person and this person and this person, this organization and this team. I think it's probably yeah, that's a big deal. I could see. So the company I worked for was really good about because they were growing so much, they knew they had to train leaders. That was basically the mindset they had, and it was a top-down decision. And so they constantly were providing leadership training opportunities, which is exactly what you said. They're growing leaders, and so that contributed to their success. But what you just described made me think like that's something I would probably do in one of those leadership retreats where I'm sitting down and doing this assessment and you're having these aha moments and you're allowing your team to run the show while you're gone. So, man, that's awesome. I'm super excited for you.
Yeah, it's
Yes,
good.
and the impact you're going to have on other people. John, I'm sorry, John, Jack, I could talk more about this
Yes.
for a while,
Yes.
but I got to be respectful of the time.
Yes, sir.
Um, somebody that wants to connect with you, get to learn more about you, what's the best way for them to do that?
Great. Thank you for asking. Again, Stephen, thank you so much for letting me be part of Beyond the Corporate Ladder podcast. I really love what you're doing. I loved our conversations. I listened to couple of podcasts before we got connected. So I just love the vision, the mission, and sharing with you. So thank you for
Absolutely. Thank you.
your role in building the next generation of leaders as well. So it's very important. So grateful of that. Yes, if people want to reach out, best find me on LinkedIn. And it's Jack Sparling, Sparling. You find me there on LinkedIn. I'm the Greater Philadelphia Jack Sparling. There's a couple others out there. So if you looking for me, it's the Greater Philadelphia. And then, hey, and if you reach out, just drop me a line, DM me, and if the first three people that drop the line on LinkedIn just put in their purpose, and what I'll do is I'll set up a 30-minute session with them, and I'll let them, Stephen, go through I'll send them a link. They'll do the purpose factor assessment. It's a 25-minute assessment, and then I'll debrief it so they understand what their purpose is. And so I'll do that, and thanking you for having me on your podcast. To your listeners, the first three that reach out and say purpose, I'll work them through the assessment.
Awesome. So I love this offer.
Yes.
Um, I'm going to be number one.
Okay.
So
You do number one. All right. You know
I'll be
what? We'll
number
do
one.
four.
Yeah.
We won't take one away. We'll still give
Okay.
them one.
Okay.
I'll send you one.
You'll still leave it for a few other people.
Yes, sir. Yep.
So they're gonna go onto LinkedIn. If they're already connected with you, they can send you a message with the word
Yep.
purpose. If they're not connected, they'll send a connection request with the word purpose, but it's only the first three people are going to get this free assessment
Yes.
and your feedback on that.
Yes,
Okay.
sir. Yep.
All right.
That's correct.
So this is going to change a lot of people's lives. I'm super excited about that. So, Jack, thank you so much again for your time. I really enjoyed it here, your time here today. And I hope to have you back on soon. And maybe something fun we could do. I'm throwing this out there, just putting it
Okay.
out there. Maybe I'll do this purpose factor assessment and I can share some insights
Oh,
with the audience. And once I think people see the impact it has, I think that will help them understand the importance of this. So I'm
I
excited
would
to do
love to do
that.
that
Yes.
with you.
Yes.
Let's
Cool.
that's you tell me when you're ready, and we'll get back on, and we'll share your results,
Let's
and we'll
do
coach
it.
you through
Let's
it.
do it.
We'll have
Yes.
fun with it.
Cool. All right. Well, Jack, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. And for those of you listening, move quick because I think a lot of people are going to take advantage of this assessment that Jack is offering. Again, Jack, thank you so much. For all of you listening, we will catch you in the next episode. Thanks for spending time with me today on Beyond the Corporate Ladder. If this conversation resonated with you and you feel like you have a perspective that could add value for others, you can learn more about being a guest at beyondthecorporateladder.com. Thanks so much for listening.